This week's Parsha is Parshas VaEschanan, continuing the soliloquy of Moshe Rabbeinu as they stand on the precipice of entering Eretz Yisrael. And in this week's Parsha, Moshe Rabbeinu relates some very interesting thoughts. At the beginning, he starts off with how close the Jewish people were to HaShem, how close they had become. He talks about leaving Egypt and standing at the bottom of the mountain, and that what they were there to do is receive the Ten Commandments. Before he gets to the Ten Commandments, he talks about a feeling that he has, a premonition, that something's going to go wrong. And he says this in the fourth parak, the fourth chapter, and it's in Pasuk Chafei. It says, Ki solid banim uvnei banim v'noshantem ba'aretz. For it shall be, or shall come to pass, meaning this is talking about the future, that you'll have a number of children and have grown old in the land. So it's an interesting statement. The very simple thing is that you will grow old in the land, and you will not follow the rules that have been laid out here before you. So before we start talking about the rules themselves, we talk about the experience itself, and that this experience is going to be something that feeling, that memory of it is going to weaken and lessen. And so the Ramban actually gives a really, really great simplistic approach to this statement here, which is to say that as you feel secure in the land, you've been there a long time, and you've been living there securely from the protection of HaShem, it's likely you're going to forget all of these testimonials that have been given to you here in these plains of Moab. And it's going to be after a long time that you're going to do all the things we said not to do. You're going to worship idols. You're going to stray after the types of relationships that we prohibited to you. And you're also going to not keep all the rules and the laws. You're just not going to do it. And the reason why he is saying this as a form of prophetic premonition, says the Ramban, is that he's trying to say that as two facets. One is to say you shouldn't be doing this, and the other is to say that this is what the future looks like if you do this. And it really should be that you shouldn't be getting involved in these type of behaviors. And we're looking at the Ramban here. And that's why he brings down in there, he says that's why Chazal mentioned that the gematria of these things are referring to two types of galios. There's a diaspora created as a result of the exile after the first destruction of the temple, and a diaspora created as a result of the second destruction. And that those things talk about the reduction of the size of the Jewish people as a result of that. So all these blessings that we were talking about over here, how numerous we are, how many of us are coming into the land, these things that we see now, we have the ability to lose that if we lose sight of what's important. So the Ramban continues on even further, and he says, what's the thing that you're going to do? What is the big thing you're going to do? Is worship foreign gods. You're going to worship them. Okay? And he says not only is that his shot, he says, but Rashi says that too. But it's really a very, very deep thought. Okay? Which is that to say that it's not just the feeling of being distant from God. It's also the idea that's going to be connected to worshiping idols. So Ramban has a very long explanation of this. So he mentions it here, but he also points out that he's explained this before. He says it before in Parshas Acharemos as well. This is the idea that he builds it from the statement of the rabbis that one who lives outside the land of Israel is like one who worships idols. So how does that connect all of this idea? How does saying that we're going to be in the land and idol worship is going to cause us to be left, and therefore we are going to feel bereft of everything and left of our connection. So it's because one who lives in Chutz La'aretz, explains the Ramban, is like he has no God. Why? Because ultimately, as he says also in Acharemos, is that it's the interaction between HaShem and the world. HaShem has given the rest of the planet to all of these different forms of interaction. The thing that causes the wind to blow and the rain to fall are guided by forces that are not directly from HaShem. He set them all in their place, and those forces continue to interact. And they move not based on what the people do in those places, but based on what HaShem, in his heavenly wisdom, has predetermined for these other places to function. But we know that in the land of Israel, that God looks at it all the time, and we explain that later in not only in this parsha, but in the next parsha, that God looks at the land of Israel on a regular basis. This is in next week's parsha. So the Ramban says here that this feeling of feeling secure right here is because we're getting direct relationship from Hashem and direct hashgacha, direct watching after the Jewish people comes from Hashem. So when you move outside, when you are removed from the land, if you're going to treat this relationship as one that's not important, I don't really need Hashem in my life, I've got other things. The avodah zarah that you're feeling is what it feels like to be at the whim of other forces. You don't feel like you have a special relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. As we used to say, there's a joke I heard many years ago that the Prime Minister of Israel invites a number of dignitaries to his office, and including the Pope himself, and he invites people there, and he says he has a bunch of phones on his table. This is back in the day when your phone had a bunch of buttons on it, and they were all very analog when this joke was told. And they said that there was one special button that was like a little more lit than all the others. Said, well, what was this button? Well, that calls the President of the United States. This calls the Prime Minister of Britain. This calls the Prime Minister of France. What does this special button do? He says, oh, well, this is the button that gets us a direct line to God. So someone asked him, he says, what does that cost? And he says, well, it's not so bad because it's a local call. And I think that joke kind of summarizes the idea, is that when you live in the land of Israel and you see the wonders and the security, that should make you realize, oh, it's because I'm keeping the Torah that we have this special protection. It's because of doing these things. We're not owed it. It's when you feel like somehow that your own abilities somehow provide you that security, that sense of security. Really, it's because you are maintaining a relationship with Hashem, and that keeps the people safe. That's what keeps the country safe. That's what keeps Eretz Yisrael safe. And when you're outside the land of Israel, you will feel anti-Semitism at a greater rate than you would inside the land of Israel, because you are like one who serves avodah zarah. You don't have that protection of Hashem. You are not the special people who are deserving of that special relationship, because you are basically unbound from God's special protection. You don't have his special security team and that security detail. So you are basically one who worships avodah zarah, because one who worships avodah zarah foregoes that. Living in Chutz La'aretz, you no longer feel how mighty that feeling is and how incredible that feeling is. So that's the idea that's being expressed here in what Moshe Rabbeinu is expressing, is this idea that this relationship it works together, and you get to feel this closeness, even though there's some anxiety about it. And I discussed this actually in another Dvar Torah posted online, if you wanted to read it, on this week's parsha, about being close to Hashem. But suffice it to say that the Ramban is talking about over here that the basic point of this statement here by Moshe Rabbeinu is to understand how powerful the relationship with Hashem is, that it provides us with a special, unique, direct relationship with Hashem. And when we engage in avodah zarah, we feel like avodah zarah. We don't feel like there's something special creating a powerful vector of our destiny in the world. It feels aloof, and it feels cold, and it feels distant. Whereas with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, it's the exact opposite. Good Shabbos.